please raise your hand. And Susie, go ahead.
Good morning, Laura.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I was wondering, not that you haven't faced this at all this year, but racing is a team that can get into the attack quite quickly, and I'm wondering what the team's focus has been this week to try to limit their chances.
Honestly, we've focused on ourselves a lot. I think we know we've faced that a lot this year, right? We've faced that in multiple games, Orlando, Kansas, I mean, the list goes on. And we've always felt that when we do the things that we know we can do and we limit the mistakes or opportunities that we give to them easily, we manage the game pretty well. So it's been a lot of focus on us, I would say.
Thanks, Susie. Rich, go ahead.
Hey, Laura, hope you're good. Just asked Quinn the same question. I've been asking a few coaches and players this for a piece on the evolution of the NWSL. And I mean, you're probably as good a person to ask as anyone because you've coached in this league for so long. But I mean, over the off season, we saw so many, probably more than ever, big international players going into the league, probably 3 or 4 of the top players from the African continent, more Europeans now with the European coaches, a lot of Brazilian players as well. Obviously, you brought Jisoo Yun in. It's always had the rep of transitional athletic, and I'm sure it still has that. But as a coach, when you're coming up against these different teams every week now, is the style of is it evolving slightly now, the league?
I actually think it's got more that. I actually don't think it's been transitional for about 4 years since I came back into it. I think in 21, when I came back into the league, it wasn't transitional. That wasn't how you got success. I think in 22, when we won the Shield, transition was there, but I think it was more possession based. I think people were a bit more structurally solid. People were really hard to break down. Last year, very similar. And then this year, if you look at the players that have come into the league, Chewinga, Banda, specifically, I think that type of player has changed the dynamic of the league too. They're just a cheat code. And you could defend structurally really well. You could tactically get it right. But someone could just play a long, hopeful ball over the top that no one else is getting, and they get it. And that's changed the dynamic, that specifically. Yeah. Where it's actually got more athletic, it's actually got more fast, it's actually got more, not direct, but you look at a lot of the goals that are scored, they're scored in transitional moments. And I actually think it's quite interesting if you look at the teams that were relatively successful last year, let's say got in the playoffs, none of us went that route. None of us have that in our team. Portland have Sophia Smith, which we all know about, but everyone else in the league didn't go that route. They added to their rosters in whatever way was working for them last year. And the teams that didn't make the playoffs last year, a lot of them have gone in a route that has changed the dynamic of the league dramatically, in my opinion, and made it a lot more dynamic, a lot more, fast and furious, even more than it was before. And is that maybe a reflection of the women's game? Maybe, I don't know, but I think that the off-season acquisitions for a lot of teams, I just named 2 of the players there that have really impacted. I think Bia at Kansas, similar, powerful, quick, can get in behind you easily, have really, really changed the dynamic. And if you look at the top of the table right now and who's really pushing ahead, it's those people plus Washington who have added young players who, again, are very fast, very athletic, very dynamic, and play at a pace that is really electrifying, to be honest. So, in my opinion, it's actually got faster and quicker. and less structured and tactical than it was over the last 3 years. I actually think the last 3 years leading up to this year has been very, very like game of chess, like European, like in the sense that you didn't see many 3, 4, 5 goal games, whether 3-2, 4-2, like you don't see blowouts very often, but this year you've seen them all the time. The amount of goals been scored this year in the league, I don't know this for a fact, but it's got to be up there with some of the most amount of goals that's ever been scored in this league at this stage of the season. And I think that says a lot about where the league's at.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting answer. Like, is it, as a coach, like, I mean, compared to, like you say, 9-10 years ago when you came into the league, how different is it, the challenges?
Oh, it's the same as it was then. That's my point.
In terms of preparing, like, because obviously, like you say, you come up against Orlando now and they have like a Banda. Then you come up against a Gotham and they've got an Esther Gonzalez. Like, are they a bit more varied, the challenges?
Yeah, I mean, like I think ourselves, Portland, Gotham, San Diego, Angel City, Washington-ish, are all playing in a similar way to where we've played for however long those teams have been in the league. Like for us, all of our NWSL life. Portland, all of their NWSL life. I think Kansas, Orlando, and a couple of other teams have not changed the way they play, but the dynamics of how they can play have just changed overnight. And that is, I mean, credit to those clubs for recruiting, credit to those players for being able to come into this league and execute, because it's tough. But I say this a lot to people. I'm not sure you could have predicted that, right? Like when you looked at the end of last year and you were reviewing the league and what we did or what another team did or what you think you need going into this season, predicting that was a challenge, because did everyone know that Banda was good? Yeah, I think everyone knew Banda was good, but we'd never seen her domestically at this level. Chawinga the same. We'd never seen her domestically at this level. Like in Europe, like they've not played in the top leagues in Europe or vice versa, So I think that's been the challenge is, and I think I had a conversation with Vlatko in the preseason. He was like, "This Chawinga's like I've never seen anything like her in my life, and she's either going to be so unbelievable it's like scary, which is exactly what it was, or something different, and you just didn't know." So I think that's been the interesting piece. It's not, no one's surprised by Banda's ability. She's shown that on international level, but at domestic level, in the Champions Leagues or anything of the high domestic level outside of China, you've never really seen it week in, week out, and she's come here and she's absolutely proven it, which is phenomenal for the league. I actually think it's great for the league. It makes the league very watchable, exciting, and keeps us all on our toes, And I think, even like we played Orlando and Banda didn't really get in behind us at all, and she didn't cause us a ton of problems, but she scored 2 goals because that's the type of player she is. She can just make things happen. So yeah, it's just an interesting dynamic, and obviously from a coaching perspective, it's exciting, but it's also a reflection of now looking at, how you recruit and what you need to be able to compete and ultimately beat these opponents. And it may look different than it did a year ago. I think it does.
Yeah. Laura, really appreciate that insight. Thank you.
Of course.
Thanks, Rich. Steve, go ahead.
Hello, thanks for talking with us today. I want to ask, Racing Louisville, it's a coaching staff you're familiar with, not necessarily for having coached against them, but for having actually coached them as players. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about kind of the dynamic of going up against 2 former players you coached. And overall, in the league in general, you also have Amy Rodriguez now as the head coach that you used to coach as a player, and kind of seeing that growth of the league and evolution in coaching.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've actually coached against Khan before when I was coaching the U20s. She was with the Canadian U20s. And obviously Bev's been an assistant in the league before. I think it's amazing for the league. I think, is it a different dynamic? A little bit, their insight of them as people and what they appreciate about the game. So you know what they're probably going to try and do with their teams and what they want them to look like. Do I think it's fantastic for the game to see more female coaches in it? Absolutely. I think this generation that's coming out now, who've had exposure to seeing female coaches, having female coaches coach them, and seeing that it can actually be a career for them. I think these are paving the way, but they won't be the last, I don't think. So, yeah, really exciting. Can't wait to see them, but I know it'll all be business until the final whistle.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Susie?
I wanted to just ask, following up on former players, you drafted Parson Pickett, and she's had a really nice evolution in the league and is a threat for Louisville. And I was just wondering what it's been like to see her professional growth in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I get hammered for not being very good in the draft, but I think I got Carson right. So I think she's always had the ability to be an attacking, dynamic fullback. I think the fact she got some international recognition was deserved. Her game's evolved over the years. She's become even better than she was when she was younger in regards to that attacking threat. And I think defensively, whilst getting those experiences of playing week in, week out, she's become more and more dynamic at that as well, which is great.
And just one more question for me. You obviously know Taylor Flint really well from her time in San Diego, and she's been just a real disruptor for racing since joining them. Just wondering what you've seen her and what she adds to the team there.
Yeah, I think in San Diego she was really used as an aerial presence and less about the other side of her game. And I think in Louisville they're looking at using her in all the different aspects of her game and playing her a little bit deeper at times. And I think she's been really effective for them and definitely someone you've got to be aware of.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks.